This is Distance from Center. I'm Horton. That is
Trent.
And we are back from our winter slumber. We are now less than 2 weeks away from the first water ski pro event of the year, the Swiss Pro-Am, which I think is kind of a favorite. I mean, Trent, give me your thoughts on Swiss Pro.
Yeah. Well, so obviously, the Australian Masters, the Moomba Masters, kind of starts the season off, but that's way back in March, and
Yeah.
it's heavily attended, but not everyone goes, and da 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 da. So, but yes, excited because this is the kickoff to the season. Especially excited because for the vast majority of the skiers, it's very close to home. So many of them are living in that central Florida area, and it's just this one's fun because one, it's definitely going to be lower pressure. 'Cause I guess again it's early season and there's less money involved and there's less history in the event, so it's definitely a lower pressure event for a lot of people, and it's fun for us because we get to see sort of who did what through the winter, if you will. Was Will Asher riding his bike and skiing in Whistler, or was he skiing all winter and he's already on top of things? Just a fun way just to sort of see. The World Championships was late last summer, and so it's just gonna be fun to see. Like Dane Meckler ran 41 at a runoff in the Worlds. Like what's he been doing all winter? Has he been getting some skiing in? And it's an exciting way to kick off the season, and of course it's going to be covered by the Water Ski Broadcasting Company. So it's going to be, in terms of from a ski fan perspective, it's a nice way for us to get our season started.
Right. And, for the folks that don't realize this, the Swiss Ski School is the home of Water Ski Broadcast.
Yeah.
And it's a place where all those elite skiers, when their lake is blown out or they want to go ski somewhere else, I think they visit there a lot. So it feels, it's a super, feel like you're at home thing. It's not like going to the Masters or, some other big tournament where maybe the conditions aren't great.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Swiss conditions are insane, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this event actually started just as your typical early season record tournament, like a amateur record tournament. So a lot of these guys were just going there that weekend before, the whoever it is that's really driving this tournament. Before this became a small cash event, and then got enough traction to become part of the Pro Tour series. So yeah, a lot of these guys would have been there on this weekend anyway. So you're right, it feels like home for a lot of these skiers. And because the conditions are always so good, you're gonna see some banger scores because people have to be ready. Especially with the way the U.S. Masters does their qualifying now, is the 3 weeks following this event, these guys and girls need to be on their A game or close to it if they're going to qualify for Masters. So while the pressure is low, the skiing is going to be through the roof.
All right. So besides the obvious guys, I mean, the people that we always expect on the podium, who are you really going to watch at Swiss this year?
Joel Poland.
Do I get a vote for Charlie Ross?
Joel Poland. I mean, Charlie Ross. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
For sure. I mean, because Charlie Ross ran 39 at a tournament last weekend, so he's already skiing well. He ran 1 at 41 at a record tournament in Hancock. But yeah, no. For me, it's gonna be Joel Poland. I got to ski with him a little bit this winter and hang out with a little bit in Florida, and I know he's skiing really well. He ran 2.5 at 41. Last weekend at that same record tournament that Charlie was at. So he would be the guy that I would like to see, just sort of see, will he take some of these practice scores into another big event?
Yeah. Well, I thought he was just a trick skier.
He is a trick skier. He's a trick skier that jumps 230 feet and runs 441.
Right, he's amazing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what about for you then? So on the women's side, who's one person that you're particularly interested in seeing how things shake out?
The women's, it's just Jamie Bull all day long.
Cool.
She's just, I'm a super fan, and it's, be interesting to see, Regina. She'll be, I don't know if she'll be a year post-op, but she was kind of at full force or getting there at the end of last year.
Yeah, it'd be less than a year post-op.
Less than a year. Okay.
It would be about this weekend. Would be pretty close to when she actually heard it. I think she heard it maybe 2 weeks before Masters. So, yeah.
Right. So the Jamie Bull Regina, I mean, Regina's, she's been dominant for so long, and I mean, she's arguably one of, if not the best skier in the history of the sport, one of the very best skiers in the history of the sport. So to see young Jamie Bull come and nip at her heels and, push her, that's fun stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. And then, I mean, you can't forget about Minot and Allie Nicholson and Montavon and Veek and all those others, but to me, that battle right at the top with Jamie Bull and Regina, that's fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Then I mean, because again, just going back to that tournament last weekend, Chelsea Mills and Vanessa Vilk, I probably said that wrong. They both were running deep 39 actually. I think one of them ran 3.
Really?
Yeah, one of them ran 3.5. The other ran 2.5, and multiple rounds. So they were they are all skiing well. So it'll be a fun one. We're gonna definitely, you and I will be watching, and we'll definitely be covering that event.
Absolutely. All right. So moving on to maybe less interesting but substantial stuff is we have new boat path monitoring system rules.
And we can call it SurePath. I know there's 2 of them, but let's just say SurePath just for ease of, it comes off the tongue a little easier.
Well, going forward we could say SurePath, but it is officially boat path monitoring.
Yeah, I know.
And I use the other system,
yes,
like
which is what's it called?
Sure.
What's the other system called?
SkiPath.
SkiPath, got it.
And I don't even know that SkiPath is currently approved to be used in tournaments. It's a great tool. I like it. SurePath has become the Coke or the Kleenex of the industry. When people think boat path monitoring, they think SurePath.
Okay, so there are
SurePath.
officially rules now. This tournament, it is going to be used. What tournaments is it going to be used at? What level of tournament is required to use it?
It is mandatory for all L or R tournaments.
So
and
ranking list tournaments or record capable tournaments.
Yes,
Yep.
100%. So, last year the boat was measured in 2 places. Forget that. The boat is just measured from the boat guides to 5 meters after.
Yep.
So that greatly simplifies that.
Okay.
It is measured at every ball from 1 through 6. Mm-hmm. And the rules about the re-rides, before I say that. So last year we were all told that any deviation greater than 20 centimeters in either direction towards the skier or away from the skier was out of tolerance. Mm-hmm. For 2022, in an L tournament, which in my part of the country is the vast majority of rankings list tournaments, the deviation allowance is up to 25 centimeters. In a world record event, in an event where a world record can be set, it's back at 20.
Okay. So for most tournaments, they've went from 20 centimeter deviation to a 25 centimeter deviation max.
Right.
Something like that.
Correct.
Okay. And now explain the rules. Just give me the Cole's Notes version.
Well, and it's like we've talked about offline. I think that there's a little bit of a conflict between, the rules. The rules say literally the boat shall follow as closely as possible a straight path on the center line of the course. And on the other hand, we all expect the driver to do what it takes to make it feel good. And we know the best drivers do those things together. Mm-hmm. So my rambling aside, what happens this year? What happens if a skier is out of tolerance, if they get to 26 centimeters?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let's just give how the rule is written for a mandatory or for an optional re-ride. Let's start with that one.
Well, it actually depends on if the boat is towards the skier or away from the skier.
Okay. Meaning towards the turn buoy or away from the turn buoy. Okay. So start with the scenario where the driver inadvertently ends up away from the turn buoy or too far away from the turn ball.
If the driver is 25 or more centimeters away from the skier is entitled to an optional re-ride.
Okay.
The skier can improve. The score is, and this is where it gets interesting, the score is protected to the point the pass is not out of tolerance. So
only protected to the point where the
pass is not out of tolerance, correct?
okay.
So and where this gets interesting, and with the inverse rule with the positive, is if the driver wanders off path in the middle, let's say at 2 ball, and you get to 5 ball, well, how does that rewrite happen? And again, you're entitled to a rewrite, and you can improve, but you're guaranteed. Let's say the driver wandered off at 2 ball, you're guaranteed 1. You're not guaranteed anything beyond that, but you can improve it. Is that clear?
So give an example. Let's say the skier is at 41 off. The driver is away from the turn buoy at 2 ball.
Correct.
And the skier gets 2.5. What happens?
Okay. So the skier, it's a mandatory reride.
No.
I'm getting there.
It's mandatory. He was away from the skier.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's optional.
Okay.
So he's guaranteed a score of 1.
Are you sure about that?
Right.
So the driver was away from the turn buoy at 2 ball, and the skier gets 2.5. He's that 2 ball is not protected, even though he was away. The driver was away from it.
I'm going to give it to you verbatim.
Yeah, do it.
The skier is entitled to an optional reride. The skier can improve. The score is protected to the point the pass is not out of tolerance to the positive.
No, but this would have been out of tolerance to the negative.
Well, I know. No, this is under the negative. So the whole rule is if buoy deviation is negative away from the skier,
yes,
and is greater than 26,
yes,
the skier's entitled to optional reride, can improve.
Yes.
The previous score is protected to the point the pass is not out of tolerance to the positive.
Oh, okay, yeah. So his two is fine then.
Right.
So if he falls around 3 ball though, and
okay, wait, hold on. I just read that to you, and now I'm really confused. The score is protected to the point the pass is not out of tolerance to the positive.
Yes.
All right. So what does that mean?
Well, that would have meant that if it was negative at 2, and positive at 3, then it would have been then the score only would have been protected to 2. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's funny that you and I both understand this stuff, and we're talking about it for all these people to get it, and we're confused. I think this is a really, really important conversation.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't. Okay. So if the buoy deviation on the original pass is positive towards the skier, so skier's at 2 ball, boat's to the left, the skier has the following options. They can just accept the score that was achieved within tolerance.
So that would say.
So again.
So yeah. So if the boat was towards 2 ball, 1 would be the protected score.
Right.
Yeah.
They can opt for a reride, and the skier can improve. However, this is where it gets interesting. For a score of less than 6, if the deviation occurred at the last buoy the skier scored, the skier cannot improve that score. And the original score is not protected. So if my score is 5 and the boat swerves to the right as I am trying to get around 5, my score is 4. That's the point there. Right?
Yes. And you fell around 5 ball?
But
if
I got
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But if I got around 5 ball and the deviation was back at 2 ball, then I'm sorry. This is confusing, isn't it? Yeah, if the deviation was at 2 ball,
you can improve.
Yeah, the point is if the boat moves on the last buoy scored, the rule is different. That means you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's a scenario.
Here's
a scenario, and because this doesn't really seem all that confusing. If so, you're at 41 off, the driver is favorable at 1 ball. The skier gets around 1, falls at 2. Mandatory
Yeah.
reride, a protected score of 0.
Correct.
But the skier can improve.
Correct.
But, okay, so then let's just say that skier goes again, gets 2.5. So now the
Right.
next skier, the driver is solid at 1, solid at 2, favorable at 3, and that's where the skier falls. The skier has a protected score of 2.
2. Yep.
And he can take a reride and get 2.5, but he can't improve.
Nope. It cannot improve. So there's really kind of no point at that point, right?
Well, if he can't improve, beyond the point where the boat was out of tolerance, or he can't improve upon the point where he fell.
Okay, so if the score is less than 6,
Mm-hmm.
if the deviation occurred at the last buoy, if the deviation occurred at the last buoy the skier scored,
Mm-hmm.
the skier cannot improve.
Yes. So he could. So in that instance, then he fell around 3 buoy. The boat was towards the skier at 3. He can keep a protected 2, or he can try and get 2.5 again. He can try and tie the 2.5.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's not a mandatory rewrite. So you might as well just take it. If the skier moves towards you at 3, and you get around it, and you don't go any further, your score is 2, and your score is 2. I think you're done at that point.
Well, it's a mandatory reride, so and you can't improve. So he could
hold on.
try and get the score. Like so again, the score was 2.5. The boat was
No.
no.
The skier can accept
the last buoy that was intolerant.
the score. Yeah, that's right. So you get 2.
Yes, or he can take the mandatory reride, but he can't exceed 2.5 where he fell originally. Yes.
You are correct. You're right. You can get the extra half.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, this stuff is confusing. If you're, I would say
You know,
to all the people
it's not that confusing if you just think of it like the old days: hot times, slow times, fast times, slow
Yes,
times. You know,
yes.
but the problem is though, in that. So here, like I think here's a great example where I just don't like the rule. In that, let's say 41 off, driver gives this inadvertently, we'll say, gives the skier space at 1 ball, meaning went towards 1 ball, to inadvertently making it easier. Skier cruises across, falls around 2 ball. Now that skier has a mandatory reride, so he can keep the protected score of 0 at 41,
right.
or he can, at risk, take the reride, but he can improve. So now that skier, let's say, has a sturdier pull at 1, everything's good. 2, falls around 3. Okay. Now the next skier goes out.
Wait. His score is
Now his score is
2.
3. No, because you said he can improve,
Oh, because he got a piece of 2. Yes. You're right.
right? So
Right. So his score is 2.5.
His first score was 1. His first score was 1.5. But because the driver gave him space at 1, he has a mandatory reride, but he can improve. So now he goes out and gets 3. Now let's say the next skier goes out, goes around 1. Skier, now the driver inadvertently went towards 2 ball, and that's where the skier falls. Now that skier, mandatory reride, protected score of 1, but can't improve his score.
Right.
So
let's
see, there's a really good scenario, and again, these rules would be really hard to come out how to make this fair and how to make this work. But there's just a perfect example of why the rule doesn't work, because the second skier, he's done it 2, and the first skier just got 2 chances to try and get to 3. Because we're so I don't know. Again, it's hard because when you're coming up with these rules, you're trying to think of every possible scenario, but I think that there's a perfect example of where it doesn't work. So so then you can't really pick holes unless you come up with a better idea. So is there a better idea?
Right.
Is there a better idea?
I don't know. I don't. I've challenged you for better ideas, and honestly, I love this technology. I think it's
Me too.
amazing. I think it's good for the
I love
sport.
it too.
I think maybe in 5 years, somebody will have worked through the nitty gritty of these rules and see that maybe there's some mistakes in them. But I think until we've lived through it, it's unfair to, say that they're not good. I mean, this is positive. It's just immature.
Yes. No. Yeah, for sure. And I'd imagine by middle of the summer we're gonna have, either it'll be like, well, I guess these scenarios don't pop up that often, or maybe the driver pool throughout the world is just that good that these things hardly ever arise. But we'll know more. We'll know more by mid-season. I mean, I'm with you. It is a step in the right direction. I feel like it's still maybe a little bit premature to be basing rerides off the system. But again, it's a step in the right direction.
But until we really live with the rules, I don't know that they will mature. I mean, I know.
Yeah, I almost wonder though if this shouldn't just be for monitoring drivers, not monitoring scores outside of records. You know what I mean? And if the drivers aren't able to operate within these rules, either the driver isn't good enough or the rules are too stringent. Just food for thought.
Yeah. No, No, I think it's a step forward. There will be unintended consequences. There will be skiers that will lose events because, unfortunately, these rules didn't go their way. But
So
I think as a whole,
Well, I think that
it's
yeah.
yeah. I mean, but
If
but
that
I think
happens
skiers are going
once,
to.
if that happens once, then this is a problem.
No, it's going to happen once, but there's also going to be skiers that are going to win events they should have won because all the tolerances were tighter, and or at least questions of was that driver favoring that skier, which is probably unfair every time the accusation is made, but it's going to be way harder for that to happen under this. It is a step forward.
We'll revisit this by early July, I'm sure.
Yeah.
and we'll have better answers.
Yeah, I mean, there's growing pains. I mean, I know some of the people that wrote some of these rules, and they're stressed about it, right? This is, nobody took this lightly. It's just, how do you put it together?
Yeah, we'll know. Yeah, we'll know more by July.
All right, so right after Swiss Pro, we're going to come back and talk about the tournament and hopefully not talk about SurePath, boat path monitoring system, whatever you want to call it.
I bet you. My prediction is it doesn't come up. Not for a moment at that tournament.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you got anything else?
That's it, man. Tune into TWBC. Watch this Swiss Pro.
All right. Rock on. Thank you. See you soon.